Hello everyone. To what extent do genetics determine human behavior? How much influence does the child-raising development exert on a person's development? DNA testing can trace the inheritance of physical traits such as blue eyes and dark hair, but what about social qualities? Will the child grow up to be gentle, deceitful, successful, and socially defiant? The intriguing question, nature versus nurture, is brought to life in this week's beautiful Torah portion, Toldot. How does the Torah interpret the interplay between lineage and family dynamics? You see, in a story, the dramatic biblical scenario begins before the birth of the biblical Rebekah's twin, Jacob and Esau. When polarity developed in utero, Rebekah has a revelation by God about the twins' opposing natures and their respective ascent to greatness. Here is the quote from our Parsha, chapter 25, on the book of Bereshit, Genesis. Two nations are in your womb. One people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. So according to rabbinic teaching, it's called Midrash, when the pregnant Rebekah will pass a yeshiva is a house of learning, Jacob will kick with joy. But when she will walk near a place of idolatry, Esau would thrash about. At their birth, Esau emerges first from the womb, all ruddy and hirsute. The first kin, Jacob, follows, clinging at Esau's heel. As he grows, Esau becomes a trapper and hunter. However, Jacob, a man of learning. You see, twin brothers could not be any more dissimilar. We see clearly here that personality traits as well as physical differences begins at conception. The story focuses on the generations, in Hebrew Toldot, and the importance of family position and genetic heritage on the development of children. In the Parsha, we read that Isaac, the father of Jacob and Esau, must stay in the Holy Land with his father Abraham. Jacob buys Esau's birthright and in exchange gives a famished Esau, just back from the hunt, a bowl of lentil. Through a rush designed by Rebekah, Jacob receives the blessing from Isaac, meant for Esau. Esau vows revenge, and Jacob flees to live with Rebekah's brother, Laban. Esau married Canaanite woman, and Jacob is tricked by Laban into marrying his older daughter, Leah. Jacob then marries her sister Rachel, whom he loves so much, but 7 years later. Jacob's father, 12 sons and one daughter, which raises to become the tribal leaders. You see here, my friends, twin brothers with shared DNA, raised in the same household, develop into two divergent personalities with radically different outcomes. Ironically, the wild Esau and generations later, the noble King David were both born with red complexions. After the Almighty God reassured the prophet Samuel that David had beautiful eyes, thus differentiated him from the biblical Esau, King David overcame this apparent similarly and rose to greatness as a warrior and a well-respected leader. Rebekah's father, Bethuel, and the brother Laban were both deceitful, yet she overcome both environmental and inherited propensities to become a righteous woman. In contrast, Esau departed from his holy background. Now, scientific and philosophical theories about the relative influence of nature and nurture abound. Secular modern theorists, John Locke, believed everyone started out as a blank slate. It's called tabula rasa. Psychologist B.F. Skinner held that a person's behavior is shaped by negative and positive stimuli in the environment. Professor Ronald Dworkin showed evidence that embryonic growth influences the development of genes. Zoologist Cornel Lawrence found that animal behavior was quote-unquote imprinted immediately after birth. Psychiatrists, or some say psychologists, depends, Carl Jung, the well-known, theorized that shared traits in all human beings were found in the collective unconscious. Each viewpoint sheds a bit of light and harmonizes with the truth found in our blueprint of life, our Torah. Choices have consequences. Rather than blame human nature for poor judgment, we can control our tendencies with free will. It says in Pirkei Avot, in our ethics of our Father, quote, "Know from whence you come and whither you are going." It's not enough to live and let live. We must consider the far-reaching effects of our decisions. The future of humanity as a whole is determined by the personal choices, for better or worse, made by individuals. Many great leaders have risen from humble beginnings. Every person has the power to change his or her apparent destiny for good or bad. Environment is often a key factor for our quality of life, but certainly not the determining one. The ultimate choice always remains ours alone. Each one of us is a combination of our genealogical history, our enculturation, our upbringing, and free will. Our potential is unlimited. Our choices set an example and imprint for generations to follow. May we choose our path with wisdom and fulfill our greatest promise, leaving a lasting legacy for our future generation, our children, children's. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.